Sonder family, Sonder lovelies, it's so good to see you. Drop in the chat right now what you are loving today. Many of you are lucky enough to have the day off. It is Memorial Day weekend, so hopefully you've been able to find a little bit of rest and relaxation. I do want to say or acknowledge this important holiday, and for any of you who may have lost someone in your family in the past for the ultimate sacrifice. We are so grateful to them for protecting us, and so thank you. Memorial Day can feel a little poignant for some, and for others, we're like looking at summer, right? It's the unofficial start to summer. So that's kind of fun. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy, and I am your on-screen facilitator coming to you from a very sunny Dallas, Texas area. I'm in Garland. And then in joining me today, my co-facilitator, co-pilot is the fabulous Maya Martin Glenn. Maya's coming to us from Colorado, and she'll be hanging out in the chat. There's always two of us on these calls. And so we'll be glad to kind of, guide you this morning and make suggestions. And then, of course, you guys are all hyping each other up, which I love. I love seeing, like, how did your walk help? Oh, that wasn't me. That was someone else who was going to go for a walk. But that connection of one another, I love that. Make sure that chat is set to everyone. And then, yeah, I asked you to share what you're loving. Many of you loving just being off, but yeah, the sunshine, and we've got zucchini growing in, in the Galveston area. Ariel, I'd love to know what you do to get zucchini growing. I always get those little bugs that go in and eat it like right at the bottom of the base of the plant. I lose them all. Anyway, would love to know if you have any tips for that. I did not grow zucchini this year. I'm sharing a little love from my garden to you. My zinnias are nuts right now. And, it's going to start getting icky and they'll get leggy and I'll have to whop them down. But right now, I'm sending you a little garden love from my backyard. I wish you could be with me. We could be outside looking at those zinnias, drinking a cup of coffee together. That would be so fun. And Lynn says, I have no idea how he eats it. In zucchini bread, Lynn, with lots of sugar and butter, of course. It's so good to see y'all. Anyhow, okay, so we're going to get going with our setup and get you ready to say goodbye to the month of May. And Maya and I are really happy. We love June's calendar starts on a Monday. So we're excited about that, but we're also excited to say goodbye to May and finish strong, or maybe finish, limping across the finish line, but we've made it. So here are the community guidelines we share when we are gathered together, because we do create these safe spaces. Really want to point out the hello@silkandsonder.com. That is that customer care address that will, you can, if you have questions about your subscription or even suggestions about what you'd like to see, please reach out to customer care at hello@silkandsonder.com. Maya's excited. She's a June birthday girl. And so I know that some of us are ready for that summer and the things that come along with that. Finally, is there anybody here for the first time logging on? Just kind of checking out, what the Silk and Sonder journey's about. Let us know. Say me in the chat so we can give y'all a big O welcome. Because we love this community, and hopefully you'll make it a priority to set up with one another. So Michelle says, hey, I'm a first time, and it's her first journal. Your first journal is in June. Perfect. So take notes today. A reminder that we always record our time together. So you'll be able to access that through our YouTube channel that Maya will be dropping those links in the chat. And there's over 1,200 videos that either show, we've got and Sabrina, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. So what you'll find when you come to these is this is a virtual community, obviously, but when you show up to these socials, either to set up for your month or set up for your week or work on journal prompts together, you're going to just be embraced by a fabulous community that will walk beside you through the highs and the lows. And so we hope that you make this connection a priority. And I tell you, it really helps you. A lot of people will say, I'm falling off my journal. I'll see that in Sonder Club. And I want to say, if you're not coming to socials, come to socials. It will help you stay committed to this journal. So, all right, there's my speech. Again, make sure that your chat says to everyone. If it says to hosts and panelists, that's okay, but just Maya and I will see your comment, and we really love to embrace everybody. So, of course, I love a Monday morning when we have a few more people because of the holiday. So we're glad to see everybody here. We are closing out our month of integrity. I have really liked this theme. It hasn't been easy, but it's called me out a little bit about what I'm thinking, life is like, and then what life really is like, and what I need to do to sort of put some things in place to match the vibe that I want. I loved this quote, so I've been sharing it all month. Live your life as though your every act were to become a universal law. And if you are doing the right things, and that becomes universal law, that to me is integrity. So yeah. Anyhow, I'm going to ask you if you're comfortable to share your planner in Sonder Club, maybe one portion of your setup that might inspire a repurpose. So yeah, just take a picture and drop that in Sonder Club. Share what you're working on at any time, or share, like, sometimes folks will use that idea of sharing as an accountability, like, I'm putting this here because y'all, I'm trying to work on this. I love seeing completed pages in Sonder Club, like, here's what my week looked like. As you see, I didn't do so great in my habit and activity tracker. Everything tells a story, and it keeps us human. It keeps us real with one another. So share as you're comfortable. Okay. Finally, let's go over our agenda. We're going to work on our mind map. So, if you're brand new, when you come to these weekly setups, you get a bonus prompt about around the theme of the month. And we do this on a notes page, a blank space somewhere in your journal. You won't find it printed in your journal. So, it's gold for our weekly setups to kind of get another little dip into the theme. So we're going to be really finishing up our integrity mind map. We've had 4 questions. This month is 4 questions. Next week, that the weekend setups are going to contain a bonus mind map, and then we will jump into setting up our June journal. So next weekend, bonus mind map question, and then in June, we will be going into our new mind map for June. Okay, so then we'll do our rosebud thorn reflection, and then we'll do our weekly setup pages, and hopefully I won't talk too much and I won't keep you over class today. So again, in your journal, if you haven't already found a space, if you're new here, thanks y'all. Yeah, I finally got a haircut. It's not really fixed, but I'm sort of embracing my 80s with the 80s lady with the wings and stuff. Okay, back to this definition page, quote page, the last page of your journal. Maya's been using her monthly expense tracker for her mind map because she doesn't she keeps her expenses, electronically. Anyway, so you'll find a space in your journal. For those of you who are new, keep that in mind for June. And here are our 4 questions. Week 1, we looked at where we jumped right into where we are betraying or honoring a relationship with ourselves. And then week 2, we looked at how we show up in relationships with others. Last week was thinking about work and ambition, and does the the way I work and what I'm building reflect my values? That's a biggie. And if you're catching up and you're not working outside the home, think about your volunteer roles, or how you support your family, that work of life. And this week, we're looking at our habits and our lifestyles, our daily choices and discipline. And the question is, do my daily actions reflect the person I say I want to become? Boom. This is the one. These questions have really called me out. So I've got a couple of quotes. The outcome of each choice you make depends on what you choose to do every single day. I think about, I really struggle with nutrition and making good choices. And like, I know what to do, but I don't do it. And then I'm like, why don't these pants fit? Well, hello. What am I choosing to do every single day? And then James Clear, the father of habits, all things habits, says the seed of every habit, the seed, little bitty, is a single tiny decision. But as that decision is repeated, a habit sprouts and grows stronger. That every day, you keep doing it. Then roots entrench themselves and branches grow. And then I love this. The task of breaking a bad habit is like uprooting a powerful oak within us. And I loved that end of the quote because we can be so hard on ourselves when we're trying to put in different habits, new habits, break, stop doing old ones. But if they are entrenched in us, it reminds us that we need to give ourselves grace because it is a mighty oak and we're trying to tear that down. So, anywho, wanted to share those as we frame out this week. So, this past week, last Thursday, we did the journal prompt on page 15, the integrity gap map. And so, if you did that activity at some point, either with the daily ritual on your own or at the social, we explored who I am, who I really am, and who I want to be. And then that middle section, I said it should have been bigger, but like that's the gap, right? And so I was sharing, I want to be like, I think of it very far in the future. Like when I'm 90, I want to be walking without a cane. I want to be strong and have strong muscles. I want to be vital. But then I call myself out with who am I now? What am I doing to make that happen? And I was saying, as of late, I have not been doing the work, right? I've just been in this really tough season after losing my brother and taking on my mom's power of attorney and finding messes and anyway, and I have not been true to who I want to be. And so for me, when I answered this question, I put, are my daily actions reflecting the person I want to be? And I said, as of late, no, they really haven't. I have lots of evidence that life has been sidetracked. When I go back and look at my journal, I didn't do what I had intended to do because other things took precedent. I've said setting goals, and I started writing setting goals, but not meeting them, but I scratched out but and I put setting goals and not meeting them because but kind of negates that. And I don't want to negate that. Or having to dedicate time to the other things that seem to be taking priority. Taking time for this reflection today is showing me I haven't been driving the car, driving the bus. I haven't been in charge of my life. I'm reminding myself that I'm doing the best I can. I have 1 week left in May, and I'm going to spend this week reflecting on the things I have gotten done. They might not have been in paper, but I'm going to do a big O to-do list because I have done some stuff this month, and I'm glad to have it done. And go into June with intentional focus and commitment. It really should say recommitment to take care of my physical and emotional health first, to find my flow, which is so exciting that is our theme. So yeah, I'm trying to give myself grace. I wanted just to share that with y'all because I know we all are there. We have these seasons and life doesn't flow the way we want it to flow. So I suggested maybe taking a moment to thumb back through your journal, look at those habit trackers, your goals, your to-do list, look at your phone calendar, what is taking up your time. Where did you spend your money? Where did you spend your time for these last 3 weeks? What do you notice? This is not a shame activity. Is this being true to the person you want to be? Right? It's looking at that. And you hear me say it a lot. You may look at a tracker and go, ooh, lots of blank spaces. But I think that's data, and that's important to acknowledge. I have a lot of blank spaces in my journal. I started out strong on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then the week just threw me for a loop. And my spaces are blank, but those spaces tell that story of, okay, Jennifer, you know what? You spent 4 hours working on this part of power of attorney. And so you didn't have time for that. So that blank space is still part of the data that I'm collecting, and it's neutral. All right. So, yeah, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you start working on this. Share the things that might be coming up for you as you look at who you are and, who you say you want to be. And let's kind of just take that moment and look over how we've been doing. What a brilliant graduation gift for seniors. The book Atomic Habits, that's brilliant. As you guys reflected, you realize, this isn't necessarily easy. We have in our head this version of who we want to be. We always talk about in Silk and Sonder, we're breaking up with perfection. And so just know, you're on the journey. And I feel like I've got so many areas that need to be overhauled right now. How I'm moving my body, getting my rest in, what my nutrition looks like. I think I'm doing a pretty good job in my headspace, my mindset. I'm really trying to give myself lots of space, lots of time to write. Again, instead of talking about how this month didn't go. Well, I mean, the end of March, April, May, nothing's gone um, the way I thought it should be going. I'm not myself right now, but I'm going to kind of give myself grace. And again, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write my to-do list of the things that I have done, reflecting, and then just, be proud of that. And then hopefully kind of get a reset, but live within that integrity mindset, to myself. I owe that to myself. So this has been quite a month. I think it's beautiful that we're going to go into the month of June with the attitude of finding our flow. What a great way to show self-integrity. Than, there, I can't think of a better way than to look at where we find our flow, where we lose track of time, where we find our heart's desire. So I'm very excited. And then I'm not going to tell you the theme, but July is going to feed off of that in a beautiful way. So we've got a couple of months of really some fun sweetness to self. So anyhow, all righty. Now, let's get going with that rosebud thorn reflection from this past week. What did this past week bring your way? Of course, I always try to look at it through the lens of gratitude, being grateful for all the things that life brought, the lessons I've learned from my thorns, as well as embracing the roses, the things that are fun and happy and that you might be patting yourself on the back for, what's positive, right? That's what we're looking for. Your bud, something that you're looking forward to this week, maybe in June, maybe in the end of the year, could be the end of the decade. Maybe you're starting a retirement clock that's 7 years long. But what is your bud? What is that thing giving you hope? And I'll encourage you to maybe even take a colored pencil and draw around that bud, that box, and when you're having a rough time, go look at it. What's giving you hope? And then the thorn is just the stressful stuff, and I shared mine, papers everywhere. I have a million things I'm trying to get straightened up in my mom's life. She's financially incompetent, which is so much fun. And she's deaf, and so she can't make phone calls. And, I'm trying to get my power of attorney in all the right places to talk about all this stuff. And it has been a full-time job. I'm so grateful I'm not working. My bud is that this week is my baby's birthday week. I'm so excited. Both of my babies are in their 30s. But my son's birthday's the 28th. My daughter's birthday's the 29th. I always laugh about tell me you're a teacher without telling me you're a teacher. I wanted summers off with those babies, and so they both came in May. And then my Rose, which is kind of sad, but my little grandson, the youngest, he was so sick this week. He had an adenovirus, high fever, over 104, but I got to step in and take care of him. His mom was a teacher. She was trying to shut down her school week. Her daddy couldn't do it. Anyway, I got to just hold a very sick boy most of the week, and it was really good for my soul. That was the part that slowed me down, brought me back to calming down. So let me put on a little bit of music, and we would love to share our journey from the week with one another. So if you're comfortable, drop that in the chat, and we'll put out those good vibes for one another, for holding each other up where we need it in the thorns, and celebrating those roses and those buds. This reflection can be really powerful because when we do look at those thorns that came our way, a lot of y'all talked about just, there's a lot of health stuff going on, coughing and broken feet and just not feeling good and ER visits and that can be so taxing. So, when you're looking at those thorns, think about like, is there a lesson? What can I take away? How can this thorn make me better? And sometimes that helps. It doesn't make them go away, right? They're just there. But oh, Patricia, I'm sorry. Death's in the family. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sending you a hug for that. So yeah, just think about what we can do to maybe, I don't want to be Pollyanna, turn that frown upside down, but when we can find learnings in that, I think it helps us become more resilient. So thank you. Continue to share as we are, trucking along this morning. If something pops up and you need a little support, just drop that in the chat. But now we're going to say goodbye to May. Let's turn to pages 52 and 53 in your May journal. And again, you're always invited to use these pages just as they are printed, but you can always take spaces and repurpose them to fit what you need in your life. I always call this time show and tell. I like to show a couple of completed pages, filled out pages. So I love the one on the left caught my eye because their habit and activity tracker, it just has one line and it says use monthly tracker. And so they want to give their energy into that habit tracker wheel at the front end of our journal, and that is their reminder to do that. They are going to ace the week. If you'll see how they want to feel, they're going to be abundant, confident, effective, ACE, and then authentic, calm, and energized. I love that. So they're going to ace this week. Their to-do list has kind of been made into a little bingo, just 9 little items, and then they have their three major goals set up around their mind, their body, and their soul, doing the categories. The one over on the right, I love this week. I want to feel, I've kind of done a little crossword puzzle looking thing with my feelings for the week. I got inspired by that one. Their to-do list is a to-do list, and I wanted to show you their goal in their habit and activity for that space. They've actually just written the days they want those things to happen. So, sometimes we circle those days. You could do a combination of both. And on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, nothing's being tracked. They covered that up. So just some tips. And they even covered up the May the mini calendar up there, three dots over Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the same thing for the goal and activity section. So anyway, um, yeah, so there's a couple of examples with some ideas that you might find helpful. Now we're going to start off the week with how you want to feel. And I thought this fed really beautifully into our mind map. It says the unspoken rule of motivation. Like, no, there are things we do not want to do, but we are so proud of ourselves when we just do it. And then it leaves us feeling a certain way. So it says, act your way into the feeling you want. And I used to tell our staff when I was at school, this it's a fake it till you make it kind of mindset. And if you're smiling and deciding to, sometimes that really can change your mindset. So this is that good reminder about the feeling a certain way doesn't necessarily influence how we act in a positive way. But if we just act, if we just do the thing, then we're left with that feeling. So think about that as we dive into how we want to feel this week. I've got lots of words here. You can use a sticker, you can use several words, a mantra. Maybe there's an affirmation that really spoke to you last week that shows up here. Maybe this is your word of the year. If you've chosen a word of the year, maybe it's just the theme of the month. You're going to write, you want to feel integrity this week. And this word doesn't have to change from week to week. It's really about taking what you need. I have the bottom half of this feelings wheel is full of very good things. So maybe do a check-in with self if you're feeling a little down. What feeling do you want to manifest to, and then maybe think about the actions you're going to do to get there, right? So if you need to feel a little peaceful in your life, and that's the word you gravitate to, then you can think about your to-dos or your goals to get you there, the actions that you take for that feeling. So, your 15-year-old, yeah, Christina, oh man, girl, go with peace, because I remember that. I will tell you, you will get smart again. My daughter always says, I always say, I wish I hadn't yelled so much. And she'll say, I was kind of a jerk, but she uses another word. And we're friends now, so you'll get there. Yeah, think about how you want to feel and drop that in the chat because your word may be the word that someone else is looking for. For me, I have written joyful, organized, and peace. I just kind of put it in my little crossword acrostic there. Intentional, accomplished, confident, integrated. Ooh, Holly, I love that. Mind, body, and soul. And then you could set your goals using mind, body, soul. All righty. So let's keep dropping your feelings, how you want to feel this week in the chat. Discovery. I love that, Peg. Oh, I wonder what you're going to discover this week because you've got that mindset now. Confident, lots of intentional accomplishing. Yeah, whimsical. Sonia, that's just a fun word. That's going to be a good one for as we jump into flow. Our new theme, successful. Yes, Marcia, ain't nothing wrong with that. We want to feel successful. Yeah, that feelings wheel is good, and it's a good article. You're right, Kendry. If you want to look at it's milk and honey merch on Instagram. I got it off of Instagram, so they have some good stuff there too. If y'all wanted to follow, we always say curate your feed so that you have bloom scrolling, not doom scrolling. So we're going to now look into our three major goals for the week, and I know many of you have your flow. These could be some of the same goals you've had all month. There's nothing wrong with that. As we're winding up this week, you might want to go back and look at those past 3 weeks and maybe some of those blank spaces you discovered about being the person you want to be. Perhaps those just kind of get imported into this week and you get that going there. I picked all of these together because the blue just made me happy. But you can see we've got, 1, 2, 3 goals set. And I kind of love how they wrote this, downward, doing the vertical instead of across. The one over there on the right's got a little daily tracker for their goals. And then you can also repurpose this section. If you don't want to do 3 goals, that's okay. Maybe you put a bingo there, like you see on the left, or maybe you are trying to shore up those rhythms and routines to be that person you want to be. And so you've got your rhythm and routine tracker here to hold yourself accountable. And this one's all dedicated to those morning rituals, to starting the day right. So perhaps that would do that. And then we'll take those goals into our to-dos. Now, the to-dos may be informed directly from your goals, or your goals may be more ethereal and more about, how you want to feel. And then your to-do list is just all the stuff you need to do. As I mentioned, mine is going to be a to-do list. I'm just going to kind of reflect back over the things I've gotten done this month. But here you can see all these to-do lists and how they're categorized. I love that. But then there's also a repurpose of a cleaning bingo. So it's their cleaning to-do list, but they've made a little mini bingo board to make it fun. Okay, and so I have brought the Kanban method up. It's from the Toyota company, and it's just a way of looking at the tasks that need to happen, and you make 3 sections, and it's the things to do, the things that are in process that are being done, doing, the to do, the doing, and then when you're done, you move that over. And so, someone had posted their Kanban. They took one page in their journal. They just tore up little post-it notes, but you can also buy the little post-it notes, and they've made their to-do list and then the things that are in progress. And as man, the way it feels to go bloop, bloop, bloop and move those things over as things happen. And I will also say this is really great. Make you a little Kanban for the fridge, right? And maybe the family can all get on board for here's what's got to happen. Everybody needs to do their sheets this week. And then as they're in the washer, it gets moved to doing. And then when they're done and they're back on the bed, boom. So anyhow, I love that whoever did that Kanban. I don't know if they're here, but thank you, thank you, thank you, because I grabbed that. Oh, excellent. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I wanted just to show what that could look like in your journal. I'm so glad, Cassie, that you shared that. It just like brought a spark of joy. So this is a really great tool to use. We share tools often like the Eisenhower matrix, the Pomodoro method, which I'll bring back around to another one. But that Kanban I wanted to show, maybe you need a not to do list if you are doing things that are, back to our mind map that are not being authentic to who you are, then maybe you do a not to do list to remind yourself. And then, we get real stuck on the idea of being productive and getting things done. But I want y'all to embrace some of these statements for the days that maybe, like I said, I had those blank spaces, but I also could reframe those blank spaces out. Well, I caught up on life. Like, what does that look like if I'm tracking? I caught up on life, or I chose to rest, or I listened to my body. So I thought these reframes of I did nothing, um, just it's good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. She always says she did nothing. I love that, Cassie. Yeah, because we do something, and our body will tell us it's time to rest. It's time to not do anything. Okay, so let me put on just a quick little bit of music while you get going with your goals and your to-do. Share in the chat what you're doing, and then we will drop down and finish up that habit tracker. Okay, y'all, while you're finishing this up, we're going to drop down to those habits and activities for our week. And again, you can cover this up like the example that we saw and just focus on that habit tracker wheel. Reuse, put stickers here, let that be a repurpose for the space. But I do want to call you out to what we wrote to in our mind map this morning. And perhaps some of the differences that we're seeing in that gap can show up here as we begin to take small steps toward being that person that we want to be. So go again, consider your mind map as you're filling this out this week. And then we have lots of just examples. I want to show you that over here on the left, you'll notice somebody wants their second goal was to build systems in their life. And so they have used this entire tracker for their evening systems. And I love that. You can see PM, and they've even tied it into a timeline of when they need things to happen. So, really trying to be intentional with putting those systems in place. And so their goal is reflected in this tracker. You could play around with it, do like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like the one you see in the middle there. And the one in the middle is great because if you're in a, like, I just haven't been using my journal and I know it's better for me when I do. Look how they're checking in with their self with all their Silk and Sonder journey. Their check-ins, they're doing their journaling, they're doing 2 daily rituals. They're going to check in with their coach 1 time a week. And 5 times in that week, they are going to go look at those monthly intentions. So a really great way of holding self accountability there. Notice the one on the bottom right. They're giving themselves the weekend off from their habit tracker. They just drew right through that Saturday and Sunday, and then they've set their goals and circled the days for those things to happen. I'm bringing back Gloria's dose, where she is tracking the things based on those good brain chemicals. So when she does creative time or completes tasks, that's a dopamine hit. And so she will write a D in, and her goal was to write dose with the 2 exclamation marks every single day through the week. And she's just leaning into finding different ways to, get a serotonin dump, get an endorphin dump, get an oxytocin dump. So I love that. And then we've got some habit tracker ideas. I'm going to put on just a little bit of music while you work on this, and then we'll go to our second page. Oh, y'all know I'm such a talker and we're running out of time. So I want to go ahead and jump into our second page because I want to make sure we cover all the content this morning. But remember, this is being recorded so you can get the recording and then scroll to where you want to see something and pause it there. And yeah, Radhika, let's just hang out till noon. We'll order lunch in. Wouldn't that be great? So we're going to jump over to the second page. And for those of you who are new, this page gets repurposed a lot. So I'm going to show everybody lots of different things you can do on this page. But I always like to remind you, maybe what you would normally put in your mind body health plan goes into the menu plan. Or maybe your shopping list becomes a bingo board, or maybe it becomes, a place to write your affirmations. So everything I'm going to show you can be interpurposed, repurposed on this page. So here's a couple of examples of how folks have set this page up. You can see both of these examples have their mind body health plan to where it's things that they're doing for self. I always say this is a good place to be your selfish space, how you're going to take care of yourself. Lots of fun stickers. And then we've got, the meal plan. You can use the meal plan as a meal plan, like you see the example there. But you can also, this person went over to their shopping list. They have their dinner plans, their main meal of the day written in their shopping list, and that freed up the meal plan to be repurposed for something else. We love those big spaces there. Here's a couple more where mind body health plan becomes the dinner plans. Also, those little bottle of water sticker things to check off. I love those, but lots of repurposing. That list is not exhaustive. There's a whole bunch of ways you can repurpose any of these spaces. Now, I have been using my meal planner this month to do the Silk and Sonder themed calendar. The June one will be out very soon. You can find it on Facebook or the Silk and Sonder Instagram page. And so, as you can see, the last week of prompts are written in my meal plan. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't journaled where it says journal. I haven't journaled, but when the question says, what would aligned success look like? It gives me pause to just think about that. So sometimes I've been journaling, but like I said, this month has been a little wonky for me. But I have this written in my meal plan, and I'm ready to go with these daily reflections based on this calendar. So I'm excited to see what our June flow calendar will look like. And yeah, y'all drop in the chat what you do to these spaces because that's real helpful. Some more repurposing weekly plan. I love the I had fun doing reflection. I'll go through these pretty quickly so we can get you time to work on it. Here's some signs you need to take a break. Again, that would pair nicely with the I did nothing slide. And then everyday self-care tools. Maybe you pull some of those, put in your mind body health plan, or the real luxuries of life. If these are showing up, long walk, colorful sunset, a good conversation, a day nap. Everybody should take a nap today. I give you that charge. And remember that doing your best looks different every single day. So every day is going to be different for you. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. We've been kind of focusing on that, and we'll be saying goodbye to that theme, but that doesn't mean we say goodbye to our mental health. So there's a checklist. Again, some great ideas on that checklist to incorporate in one of these spaces in your journal. Or perhaps as we're sitting here with the last week of the month, you do an end of month check-in and do little mini journal reflection in a space here, or you focus on four types of self-care. Here are some mind, body, health repurposing. I love the one on the bottom there. It says, I took a nap before work. I may do it again tomorrow. So it's kind of that little mini reflection. Here's the 7 types of rest. We talk about this frequently in our in Silk and Sonder. So there's that graphic that shows you how to maybe focus on a couple of areas of rest here. That this would actually be really good for flow in June. If you're kind of thinking ahead, we've got the shopping list, and then I've got a bunch of repurposing. I did a road trip bingo when we went to see my nephew graduate in Indiana, and so there's my little road trip bingo. I never saw a dog in a car window, so I didn't get to check that one off. But as we hit state lines, so if you're traveling, I recommend doing this. This was fun. It kind of kept me focused on the drive. And then we've got this meaningful May. Again, a lot of stuff you can pull from here. You don't have to do it in order. Just get some inspiration there, some daily habits, some easy tasks. And maybe you do this little 7 positive things to try this week with different focuses for each day: self care, clean, digital detox, delete. I'm doing a lot of deleting and digital detoxing this week. And then I found this and I love it. This is a great summer reading bucket list. Okay, we are running short of time. I'm going to stop talking. I'll go back through all these all again. And if you saw something you loved, grab a screenshot of it. Oh my goodness, our time is of the essence here. Let me go through these really quickly. I really would encourage you to post something in Sonder Club that maybe someone else would like to see. That, we support each other in our journal journeys by doing that. So if you have a moment, do that today. Take good care of yourself. I'm charging you with doing nothing. Find a way to take some time for yourself, just to be quiet and calm today. Enjoy the rest of your 3-day weekend. I've loved having a bigger crowd on a Monday morning. That was fun. So thank you for carving out that time to be here for yourself and for one another. Remember, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to access that through the YouTube channel. And Maya will be dropping that link as well as some other links in the chat. Silk and Sonder, of course, it's a holiday. And so there's a little extra holiday sale going on right now. So you'll want to, pardon, take advantage of 20% off entire website by using the code Memorial20. And don't forget about those kids in your life. Thank you for joining us today and being here and showing up for not just yourself, but for one another. I love this community. I wish you a lot of love and light as you close out the month of May.